Good day, viewers, and welcome to yet another fun-filled and exciting episode of your favorite show, Generation C. I am Hachuka Porfi, and I will be taking you through today's show. Now, Generation C is the show that aims to inform the youth throughout all our three segments: The Zone, Varsity Chat Room, and School Corner. The Zone is published every Tuesday in the Namibian Sun, the Allgemeine Zeitung, as well as the Republican. Now, today is Chocolate Ice Cream Day, so if you haven't already grabbed your chocolate ice cream, then I don't know what you are doing. So let's go grab it. Today in studio, we're of course joined by Duminga Ndala, who is the LPM youth leader. But before we get into that, let's take a look at what's happening in today's edition of The Zone. Now, on the front page of The Zone, we of course have an article on Adara Gay Van Pieters, who is a 14-year-old high jump record holder. While moving on to page 2, we of course have an article on overfishing as a global effort is needed because pollution still has a firm grip on the ocean's health. Moving on, of course, also on page 2, we have our photo of the week, which is a photo of a seal. In today's edition, we have a picture of a seal to commemorate the annual Ocean Week, which will commence on the 8th of June and conclude on the 13th of June. Now, the Director of Ocean Conservation Namibia believes that pollution, which can lead to a range of problems like strangling marine animals and toxic algae blooms, is still one of the main adversaries to our oceans. Well, also on page 2, in today's Zone edition, of course, seeing that it is, of course, our Ocean Week theme, the Zone team took to the streets to find out from students from the University of Namibia and asked them what they think the importance of the ocean is. Let's take a look.
Hi guys, my name is Twapira Shemungoba. I'm a second-year law student at the University of Namibia. So why is it important to protect the ocean? I think it's quite evident that the ocean produces a number of benefits. Firstly, the air we breathe in. The ocean produces over half of the world's oxygen, and without that, we wouldn't be alive. Without that, we would be dead. So I think that's very important. Secondly, we look at the recreational purposes behind, the ocean. We can go fishing, we can go on a boat cruise, we can go surfing. These are all reasons as to why we need to protect and preserve the ocean. And then lastly, we are familiar to the fact that the ocean provides us with food, fishing, seafood. There's so much that we can get from the ocean. And yes, because of that, I think it's important that Namibians work together to ensure that we protect this valuable resource that we as the world have and treasure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole Limbo, a first-year political science student at the University of Namibia. I believe there are a number of reasons as to why we should protect the ocean. One very important one that stands out for me is how the ocean regulates climate. This is very important because, as we are all aware, we're battling climate change and it continues to impact us in many negative ways. If we do not take action by protecting our ocean and ensuring that it's at its best, climate change will continue to affect us in negative ways and eventually the Earth will cease to exist. So I believe it is very important for us to protect the ocean so that it continues to regulate climate.
Well, moving on to page 3, we of course have an article on Martinez Joel from Greenwell Matongo, who put his gained education and skill to good use by starting a solar appliance and service business. Martinez and Sun Solar Energy Consultants on the 22nd of March 2022.
My name is Joe Martinez Eita. I'm 20 years. I'm Namibian citizen. I started Young Africa Namibia Vocation Training. Then I start solar technology. Then my aim is to make a company that Martinez and Son Solar Energy Consultants. Then I want to provide I want to make like Namibia to focus on solar. As like my service gonna be solar home system, solar geyser, solar components parts, solar borehole pumps, solar street lights, consultants and project man info, service, repair and maintenance, solar grid diet solution and system design. Those are services that we're gonna provide with Martinez and Son Solar Energy Consultants.
Well, also on page 3, we have an article on the Educational Conference of 2022, Transforming with Education System. On Monday, 30th May, a stakeholder advocacy meeting on education took place at the Sederlig High School in Keetmanshoop. The Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture came with a comprehensive report to embark upon this national process, ensuring that all the constituencies have a voice to the final report. Let's take a look at what went down.
Good morning. My name is Sanet Steenkamp, and I'm the Executive Director for the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. I am also privileged to be the co-lead for the Transforming Education Summit, especially seeing that we are co-leading with Italy as a country on a global level. The Transforming Education Summit have got 5 track actions, and the one that Namibia is leading with Italy is focused on really providing inclusive, equitable education and safe schools and healthy schools. We wish to state that because it was found that education globally is in a crisis and that education is not as inclusive as we would love to see it, for that reason, and because of the great generational learning losses, the COVID-19 pandemic, issues around poverty, children not having access to school, and when they do have access to schools, they actually do not get the required quality education and in an environment that is really safe and healthy for them. And on that basis, the Secretary General to the United Nations called for a Transforming Education Summit. And this summit will be held in New York on the 19th of September. And basically, it requires of every head of state of the UN member states to reaffirm the commitment, political will, and political commitment and accountability framework per their country, looking into how that specific country will indeed focus on best practices to transform their education and to allow that we focus much more on an inclusive process where we focus on practices that will make us reach out more and spending much more resources. For example, children dropping out of schools and especially the marginalized groups. So in the build-up towards the summit, there will be a pre-summit on the 28th to the 30th of June, where ministers, the co-leads, and 4 country representatives will present their papers, position of the country. And on that basis, Namibia, as a co-lead with Italy, we are doing regional consultations that has a twofold purpose. One, it will build into our national conference, which we as a country will have on the 2nd to the 5th of August, 2022, but it will also build towards the summit where His Excellency then will present, the position paper of Namibia and his clarion call for better financing in education, the clarion call as per the voices of the youth and the people in terms of what they want to see about inclusivity, inclusive practices that we as a country are strengthening. And our regional consultations, we are very excited to say, have kicked off on the 31st of May, and they will proceed until the 11th of June. On the 13th of June, Namibia needs to submit its position paper, the first draft, on a global level, where it will be assessed, and they will also look at the best practices of Namibia. Namibia submitted 4 best practices. The first best practice that we submit, which is highly acclaimed, is the success that we have in Namibia in integrated school health. And everything that we as a country do to make our schools safe, the National Safe Schools framework that we have been introducing and workshopping about, working with the Namibian police, with other UN agencies, heads of missions, but also NGOs and youth organizations. The second one that Namibia has submitted as a best practice on a global portal is family health, family literacy.
Well, of course, moving on to page 4, we have a feature that also ties in with this week's theme, which is, of course, Ocean Week. And this feature was, of course, written by Irene Marie van der Walt. Well, on page 5, we, of course, have an Afrikaans article on the 3 choirs from St. George's Diocesan School, which each received gold certificates of 80% and higher at the RT Kafia Applause Choir competition presented in Windhoek. Now, 8 choirs participated, of which 4 Keetmanshoop Secondary School, Cederlig High School, and J.A. Nell Secondary School and the Dolphins Private School were located outside Windhoek.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. The air like I don't care, and maybe run away. Because I'm happy alone if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy alone if you feel that happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy alone if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy alone if you feel that that is what you want to do. Here comes bad news, talking this and that. Yeah, give me all you.
Moving on to page 6, which is, of course, our sports page, we have an article on the festivities that took part at Stampreed this past weekend. Now, Stampreed, of course, had amazing sports activities, and if you really want to see what went down, you, of course, need to read the article and take a look at the following insert.
My naam is Nadine die Jager en ek is die onder 13 afrigter by privaat skool El Nathan. Ons is hier by El Nathan se sportdag en ons geniet dit verskriklik baie. Die spanne doen so goed en ek dink dit is 'n goeie geleentheid vir die kinders vir blootstelling en om die vriende te maak en definitief ook net om die netbal te geniet. So ons geniet dit baie, dit gaan goed. Ek dink al die spanne gee regtig hulle beste, maar hulle onthou ook dat dit 'n tyd is om regtig potensiaal te kweek en dit te geniet. So ek moet sê dis 'n wonderlike ervaring vir onderwysers, vir afrigters, vir ouers en vir die kinders.
En hoe het die onder 13 so ver gevaar?
Hulle het so ver goed gedoen. Ons het gister ons een liga-wedstryd gewen en 'n ander wedstryd verloor en vandag een gewen. So ons hoop ons wen nog die laaste een wat oorbly vandag.
Okay, en dink jy dat die girls reg is vir die laaste een vir
Ek hoop so. Daniel Berg is wel 'n baie sterk span, so ek hoop hulle is reg vir dit. Hulle moet hulle definitief nie onderskat nie.
Dankie. Hazai.
Ek is Elma Kreeg van die gimnasium nommer 15A.
Okay, en Elma, hoe dink jy gaan julle nou doen?
Dit is 'n goeie vraag. Ek weet nie want ons het al 2 keer teen Prout gespeel en ons het 1 keer teen hulle gewen en 1 keer teen hulle verloor. So ek dink dit is 'n goeie kans om myself te bewys.
En het julle al vroeër vandag gespeel?
Ja, ons het teen KPS gespeel.
En hoe het julle gedoen?
Ons het 2011 gewen.
Gewen, okay.
Ja.
En wat vat dit om 2011 te kan wen?
Goeie spanwerk en vertroue in mekaar.
Baie dankie Elma.
Hi julle, is Veronique van Schumer Gimnasium en afrigter van onder 9 en 10 netbal.
Okay, en hoe het die onder 9 en 10 so ver gedoen?
Hulle het baie goed gedoen. Onder 9 het al hulle wedstrydjies gewen. Onder 10 speel nou 2 nog enetjie. Maar hulle speel uitstekend.
Nou kan jy vir ons sê wat dit verg om die kleintjies af te rig.
Dit vat baie geduld, maar ons oefen twee keer 'n week, oggende en middag en ek dink dit help baie.
En hoe doen hulle so ver?
Baie goed. Hulle speel uitstekend. Hierdie is nou ons laaste naweek van die seisoen. So ek is baie trots op hulle vir wat hulle vermag het.
En gaan hulle nog vandag speel of is hulle eers klaar?
My onder 10 speel 2 uur nou hulle laaste wedstryd, dan sal hulle klaar vir die seisoen.
Baie dankie.
Also on page 6, we of course have an article on the mountain bike gravel and dirt 5th series, which took part at the Okayo Lodge, which is located very close to Omaruru. And it was one definitely to look out for. And you definitely need to read the article to acquaint yourself on this one. What an informative zone edition that was. But of course, we have to now move over to School Corner to find out what is happening within the schools. Let's go. Welcome to the School Corner, where we go all around to the schools to find out what is, of course, happening in and around the schools. Now, of course, start with what is on our page 5, which is, of course, our school focus for the week. And the school focus for this week is, of course, Windhoek Central Primary School. The school was, of course, founded in 2005. And if you love the color blue, then this might be the school for you. Well, also in our school focus, in our school corner for this week, we of course have on our page 7 our star teacher for the week, which is Susanna Kadikwa from Ausencare Primary School. Now let's see what words of wisdom she has for us.
My name is Susanna Kadikwa and I am the principal of the Ausencare Primary School. I started my teaching career back in 1990 at the Oosterheim Combined School in Arwap. I am happy to give you this short message. My message for anyone who wants to get into the education sector. Yes, we need educators, serious educators, but also committed educators. As a nation, we need to start with teachers. We need medical doctors, nurses, engineers, and many other professionals. Therefore, the most important profession is actually the one of the teacher. In return, qualified teachers are expected to do things right by way of delivering quality work with a common objective to achieve excellent results. Education is a shared responsibility, and we should therefore join hands with the government in addressing challenges facing the education sector.
Now, of course, that was all we had for you on today's School Corner, and it was, of course, loads of fun, but it's time to sit down with Duminga Ndala to find out what she has to say. Well, if you are just joining us, you're of course watching Generation C. I am Hanchika Pofi, and I'm joined by an amazing guest here in studio. She's of course the LPM Youth Leader, and she goes by the name of Duminga Ndala. How are you and how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time to be here. I mean, you could have been anywhere else, but you're here with us today.
Yes.
All right, so to kickstart everything, tell us about when the LPM Youth League was first discovered.
Well, initially it was discovered in 2017. It was known as the LPM Student Command Element because our interest then was mainly student-centered. I think one of our pillars was obviously to champion for free and quality education, especially in institutions of higher learning, and also the decolonization of the curriculum. We are firm believers that the current curriculum doesn't speak to the socio-economic factors of Namibia, so the curriculum is out of touch. That's why we so much have a high rate of unemployment rate. So we want young people to be CEO. I think politically we have done well that we have young people that are represented in parliament, but there is just a few young people. So we want more young people to enter the parliamentary scene and to promote the interest and agenda of the youth in general. So those are some of the things that we look at and that we want to bring forth as a wing. Yes.
Wow, that's really amazing. You love to see the youth win.
Yes.
You want to uplift the youth and make sure that they take up space where they are supposed to take up space.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something that I love about everything that you've mentioned here. But obviously when you're always teaching youth how to take up space and what is the importance of taking up space, and
it's important that young people be at the forefront of political activities. I think we have seen what was transpiring the past 2 weeks, where young people were demonstrating and you know, setting the agenda in the country. So I think it's important that we as young people set the agenda so that those that are in position of power and influence are able to listen to our cry, and they are able to sort of incorporate whatever we want to be brought forth. So young people should be at the agenda, political agenda in the country. They should set their agenda. They should rise to the occasion. They should not leave politics in the hands of those that will not be here in the next 5 years, but themselves, they should craft their own future. So those are my last words.
All right, thank you so much, Duminga, for joining us.
Thank you.
Right, that was Duminga Ndala, the LPM youth leader, and I must say she definitely did bring us a lot of knowledge in here. And if you are a member of the youth, if you are between the ages of
15 to 35,
you know, make sure that you are actively partaking in politics, because that is your decisions that you're making when it comes to politics and all that. Let's head over to the varsity chat room. Welcome to Varsity Chat Room, where we, of course, go all around the world to find out what is happening within the universities. But, of course, our first news story for page 8, we, of course, have an article on the Namibia College of Open Learning, NAMCO, which awarded its top performers in the NSSCO Age 2021 examinations last week and gave away prizes valued at more than 50,000. That 50,000 almost got me there. But of course, let's take a look at what happened.
Certain challenges and issues. And what we then do is, irrespective of what's happening, we need to show, we need to show up and meet the commitments required of us. I'm going to start off from an angle of, if we are to speak about the challenges that we face on a daily basis on a personal level, I've always said that every person has got an issue that they are dealing with.
And this week's Varsity Corner is, of course, Esther Nyanyukweni Hakala, a student at the University of Namibia, UNAM, who is, of course, studying journalism, and this is her second year. Let's take a look at what she had to say if you have not just read the article.
Following your passion is one of the most successful aspects that ensure a successful varsity career. My name is Esther Nyanyukweni Hakala. I'm a second-year media student at the University of Namibia. Media was never part of my career options, and I have never imagined myself as someone that can stand up and speak in front of people and also to write.
Well, that was all we had for you on today's episode of Generation C. It was loads of fun, and if you haven't gotten yourself the Zone copy yet, all you need to do is get yourself a newspaper, which is of course Allgemeine Zeitung, the Namibian Sun, as well as the Republican, and there will be an insert right in there. From me, Junior Kapofi, it is of course Auf Wiedersehen.